Apps can sometimes help your creative process, and some other times they can get in the way as well. Whether you are the type of person that lets serendipity dictate the course of your creative flow, or you lean more on the technical aspects of the craft, there might be some value here for you. Hi, my name is Jorge. Welcome. In this channel we merge creativity and productivity to try to live a more fulfilling life. 70% of my photographs are random, spontaneous events. The other 30% were planned and researched beforehand, my filmmaker side. You might prefer randomly walking in a new place, city, or country, capturing just what you see. Or perhaps you're forced to return to a location because you were not able to get the shot or the video that you wanted due to things beyond your control, like typhoons for example. Regardless of your preference or your style, these apps can potentially bring value to your craft. These are not listed in any particular ranking, some of these are paid, some of these are free, and most of these are multi-platform. And to keep things organized, we'll break it down in 3 categories: pre-production, production, and post-production as well. Let's get started. These apps help you prepare for an event, a project, a film, a trip, regardless of whether you're a photographer or a filmmaker. Pre-production apps are really helpful for when time is very limited, when you're working with a group of people or a crew that have to be informed in advance, or when you don't have access to the location. Alright, so the first app on the pre-production list is going to be Google Earth. Seems like a really simple app, but it's actually really useful once you know what you're looking for. When you actually navigate into 3D mode, you can actually orbit around places, and this is great for investigating a location that you don't have access to. For example, a paid commercial project in a new city or a new part of a town you never explored, and you need to have access to toilets and your grip trucks and your electric trucks and things like that. So this is a great way to sort of explore the area in advance. For example, close to this station, showing Jinjamai, is where I took this photo right here. And you can tell that the area is accessible via Google Earth, and you can somewhat make out what the area looks like, and you can kind of orbit around it, zoom in a little bit. This is more useful for filmmaking than photography, but it still helps you navigate the area and still helps you get an idea what to expect. So I recommend just typing in a location that you're interested, and it will sort of navigate to the area, and then you can just toggle the 3D mode, and that will give you a realistic representation of what it looks like, how tall the buildings are, and things like that. The next app on the list is also very simple but really helpful as well. Living Earth. Living Earth is a weather app, but it gives you a bit more information than your standard regular built-in weather app. Not only are you getting the temperature as well, obviously, like pretty much every other app, but you do get different types of view, temperature view, and the wind view, and humidity. And this is really important to determine what to wear for a specific location. If you're not familiar with an area, and you move there or you travel there to film a project or to take photos, you may have too many layers, be sweating like crazy, or you may be freezing your butt off. So you need to consider the weather as well. This app was specifically useful when I was living in Japan because it has a section here for active storms, and it will notify you about typhoons, the wind speeds, the humidity, rain. All those things are important, especially if you don't have weather seal gear like the X100F at that time, for example. And that's why the X100V is important to me. It is weather resistant, something to consider. But yeah, it's a really complete and incredible app that helps you quite a bit once you know where you're going, once you know what you're doing and how long you're actually going to be at the location. This is a really, really helpful app. Next on the list is the Sunseeker app. I was gonna do a quick demo about the app because it's actually really cool, but it's close to minus 30 degrees Celsius outside, so that's not going to happen. So I'm gonna do a brief overview of what it's possible with the app and why it's useful. Basically what the app does is that it uses your phone's camera and the AR to sort of build the path of the sun. And not only that, it will also tell you the time that it's going to be there. So you can explore a location on Google Earth, for example, and then go to the app and know exactly where the sun is going to be. And that might be your key light for the commercial, or that might be your key light for the photo shoot you want to do outside. It's important to know that this app is most useful when you're actually in the location, so you can move the camera around. It will tell you where the sun is going to be at what specific time. But if you need it for pre-production as well and to get things sorted before you go to the location, is really useful too. And the last app on my pre-production list is going to be Moonseeker. I have not personally purchased this app, but it looks like it works exactly like Sunseeker, but for the moon. It tells you where the moon is going to be at exactly what time of the evening, and that might be enough to be a bit of a fill on your subject while you have other key light and other sources, or maybe just to prepare for a night shoot, what windows to block and things like that. Really useful as well. I have not personally used this app, but it must work exactly like Sunseeker. It's the same company, so if you're interested in that, give it a try. The production apps are for actually working on your craft. So if you're a photographer, being out there taking photos, a photo shoot, an event, street photography, traveling, doing things like that. If you're a filmmaker, being on set filming and shooting a music video or a short film or a corporate project, it depends. So the first app on the production list is ProCam. Is another cool app that I really like because it lets you fully customize the settings on your camera, effectively shooting in manual mode. But not only that, you can also save the raw files. So I've mentioned before that if you're serious about photography, you should get an actual dedicated camera for it. But if there's no other option for you at the moment, then at least get an app that helps you shoot in manual mode and helps you keep the raw files as well, and you have more flexibility when editing photos from your smartphone. The ProCam app is a really way to do that. You can change your exposure, your shutter speed, your ISO, HDR, change between the different types of cameras and the format you're recording, either a TIFF or a RAW, so it's really helpful. Definitely recommend it. The best app to record videos is going to be Filmic Pro. In fact, I have a dedicated video on this channel on how to make YouTube videos just with your smartphone and a cheap Rode microphone. Link in the description below. But like the previous photo app, in this video app you have pretty much every setting you can change: resolution, frame rate, syncing, stabilization, shutter speed, ISO. You can change your white balance. You can shoot in different profiles: natural, dynamic, flat. You can even shoot in log if you want to. In fact, you can actually go to the website and download LUTs for the log and the flat profile, which is really cool. This app plus a couple of small accessories like a tripod mount and an ND filter makes it a really powerful tool for creating video if you don't have access to a video camera. These apps are for the final stage of production. In post-production, you're cutting your film, you're mixing your audio, you're editing your photos, you're organizing files and printing photo books, for example. So these are some of the apps that I like to use. So the main tool that I always use is Adobe Lightroom, Lightroom Classic to be more specific, but that's a desktop app. So I use the Lightroom app on my iPad for editing photos and syncing documents and files between my MacBook and my iPad. I have made a video before on how to edit photos in Lightroom on your iPad, link in the description below. I know there's a lot of people that prefer VSCO and Darkroom for editing photos and uploading to Instagram, and if that's your preference, that's fine, but I recommend you always stick to Lightroom Classic to get most out of the photos and to be able to organize them online and to be able to sync them to a photo book, for example, and create photo books from the application. Really powerful, but it does require a monthly subscription, so keep that in mind. If you want a bit more control than VS Code and Darkroom, but you don't want to pay for Lightroom, then I recommend Snapseed. Snapseed is one of those apps that has a lot of tools and a lot of control in the photographs as well, which is pretty cool, and is one of the favorite apps for adding frames and customizing that for maybe your Instagram, adding the border and the frame and how much you want of it as well. In here you can change that, intruding and extruding from the photo, etc. You can play around with it, but this is one of the apps that lets you do that, and unfortunately that's not a setting that is easily done in Lightroom. You also have Photoshop Express, and this is really useful if you have an iPad, but if you're editing from your phone, I recommend just do all the heavy editing on your computer and then send the photos to your smartphone, and from there you can post, you can edit on Lightroom, etc. And of course Instagram. Don't edit photos on Instagram, don't apply anything on Instagram, just use it for uploading photos, and that's it, please. If you want to start editing photos and getting proficient at your craft, don't do it on Instagram. So, those are some of the apps that I like to frequently use that fit my creative cycle and my photography and filmmaking style. Your style and preference may vary, but I think it's a good idea to open up the dialogue and keep an eye out for what people are using and being open to learning new tools and new technologies as well. But I am curious to know, what do you think? What are some of the apps that you frequently use? What alternatives are out there for some of the apps that I use? Anything that you would like to share? Leave a comment down below. That is it for today's video. If you found this video helpful or valuable, please like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram so you can see the photos there before you watch my videos. Thank you very much for watching, for giving me your time and your energy, and good luck with your creative process.